for a second. Uh, the times we live in, which is 2018, we have some of the most advanced forms of technology. When I was in primary school, when I was in 4th grade, my dad had a cell phone. It was very bulky, it was very big. So he had a cell phone, and almost everybody had to know about it. I had to tell them, my father has a cell phone. This is a big deal. His cell phone only typed in numbers that allowed him to call people. That's all it did. It didn't do anything else. This was about 1998. So then we moved into getting phones more sophisticated. We could text. And then the smartphones came. And there are books that have talked about the connection between excessive smartphone use and rates of depression and anxiety. They've actually put those two things together. And so what that tells me is that we need to make time to teach people about how to use smartphones so that they don't ruin their lives, so that they don't start dealing with anxiety and depression on a large level. The lady who wrote the book, which is called, I believe, Generation Z, and it's just a general book from a psychologist talking about the trends and the challenges of young people, she talks about some of these connections, and she says there's a correlation between the year that smartphones became very popular and what we are observing with our young people as far as some of the psychological concerns. So what that tells me is that we need to make time in our curriculum to teach technology etiquette. A very good friend of mine, which I'll leave unnamed, he and I were talking, and we talked about this phone issue. And what it really comes down to, I want to give us a few tips to try. What it really comes down to is you actually have to exercise self-control on another level in order to still function properly if you own a smartphone. So what are these tips that we can use? Number one, if we don't set boundaries on how we use the smartphones and the technology, what's going to happen is that it might start running our lives. We might start finding our identity in it. So we set boundaries. Number one rule that I heard somebody else say is that try your best when you wake up not to actually look at your smartphone. Don't start with the smartphone just yet. Try to do everything else you need to do to get ready for the day. Then you can look and check what's going on. Here's the problem, because one news item can turn into 5 news items, which can turn into 10 news items, which means that you just wasted an hour of your day. So when you wake up, actually, I think alarm clocks need to come back. We need actual alarm clocks, not just our phones anymore. So when the alarm clock beeps, we wake up for the day, we get ready for the day, and hopefully we make time to get up early to be able to read and pray and get in the zone. And then we check in, maybe at breakfast, or after breakfast, I should say, because you want to actually have breakfast with people. If you can communicate with people, talk to people. I understand some people can't always do that. But after breakfast, I might check my phone, right? Some of this is a manifesto or something that I'm hoping to do more myself. But I check my phone and I see, okay, this is what's going on, that's what's going on, okay, who do I need to message? Okay, fine, I take care of those things. Then I go off to work, or I go off to school. You go off to what you need to do. And during that time, if I could just insert this plug for time management, one of the challenges people have with time management is that with technology, you can get distracted and you can go a long time without doing what you need to do. But if you set boundaries, for example, I'm going to work for 25 minutes and then I'm going to take a 2-minute or 3-minute break. Or I'm going to work for an hour, then I'll take a short break. But I try my best to expand that focus time. So some people at their jobs are not allowed to have phones. Some people get fired for looking at their phones at work. They will get fired. So that tells you you can survive without looking at your phone. Some people think, oh no, it's not possible. I got to check every 7 minutes. I want to know if somebody liked my tweet. I want to know if somebody did this and that. You know what? Don't judge yourself based on people liking your tweet, because people can like what you say, but not even know what they're liking. Oh yeah, this guy just said this, okay, I like it. And then you're there on the other side thinking, well, that was really smart what I said because they liked it. Don't base your identity on people liking your tweet. Do what you need to do, right? And so, do what you need to do, say what you need to say without thinking of, will this person like it or the other? Of course, you say things that make sense. So then you've gone from the morning till about 12 o'clock. You've probably used your phone maybe a few times, just a few times. You looked at it after breakfast, and now lunchtime comes. What is the purpose of a phone? Part of the purpose of a phone is to communicate with people. And so one of the things I do, or I'm trying to do more of, is I have these small notepads. And on the notepad, if I need to remember to text someone, I want to pull out that notepad instead of my phone if I'm not in a place where I should be texting. And I want to write down, text John or text Peter. You write down those things on that notepad. When the next time for your phone use comes, which might be lunch or whatever, depending on people's situation, then I can look at my notepad, follow through on the things that I needed to do. But see, I'm using the phone for the purpose for which it was intended. I'm not sitting there going, okay, I'm going to watch this video and that video, because part of why you're at work or at school is to help people, interact with people, and what happens is if we keep turning back to our smartphones, we're removing time from interacting with people. So 12 o'clock comes around, you look at your notepad and you see the things that you were supposed to do with your phone, the people you're supposed to text, you take care of that business, okay? Then you go back to what you need to do. Then after work, you come back, again, remember there was a time where there were no cell phones. Remember that. So it's okay. You can go from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock. You go, and then after work or after class, maybe there's a quick check before dinner. If there's an emergency, it's different. Don't get me wrong. But we don't have emergencies every single day. And yet, and there's other videos that you'll see if you look on YouTube and so on, just talking about this, people walking around with their phones and completely ignoring other people. And I want to talk about the implications of that before we finish this session. And so we do what we need to do before dinner. We answer messages, we do this, that, and the other. Then we have dinner. Now, after dinner, the key is that doctors, from what I've heard, some doctors recommend that there's a limit. There's a time which, after that time, you need to stop stimulating your brain. You need to stop getting your brain going up again. Your brain is supposed to wind down, not do things, watch action movies, do this and that. You're supposed to be winding down so you can sleep properly, which leads to another problem young people are facing today, the sleep problem. Well, if you're doing things and staying still, letting your brain keep running for 100 miles an hour, well, you won't be able to sleep as you ought. So we set boundaries. We checked our phone after we had finished getting up and getting ready for the day and doing what we need to do, right? Then, and if possible, we have our Bibles in hard copy and not on the phone, if possible, because people can text you, this, that, and the other. You can get distracted. You and I are human beings. We can make mistakes. So we put away the phone, we get ready for the day, we check the phone, we go through the day, interact with people, be a blessing to people. Don't allow it to distract you from what you need to do. Then at the end of the day, you look at the state of affairs, you check what's going on, okay, good, fine. After dinner, if people want to spend a few minutes watching and learning something, yeah, some people don't have computers. I understand that. They might check that on their phone. But again, there's too much information on YouTube. There's too much information on Facebook. So you have to put a limit. At this time, I'm done. That's it. Because there's never an end. There's another video, and another video, and another video. And so we have to be careful. Nobody was teaching us these things when smartphones were coming out. Do you see where we have a problem, a disconnect? Nobody taught us those things. We got the tools. Some people got addicted to them. And now look what's happening. It's affecting families. It's affecting friends. It's affecting depth of relationships. Relationships are very shallow these days. Now, I'm not against people taking pictures, okay? I want to just talk about that as I finish this. But there is a concern from the American, well, not just the World Health Organization and also certain American organizations here that have to do with this selfie addiction. It's not okay and it's not normal to have to take 500 pictures of yourself a day. That's not normal. And so when people are taking all these, and now it's actually become a thing, selfie addiction. What you need to realize is that God made us independent of the technology. So we need to have an identity independent of the technology. And if I have to get people to say they like how I look in order to feel like my life matters, I have another problem I need to deal with. I have a root problem that needs to be taken care of. But that's what we're faced with. We don't need to be putting pictures of ourselves every day. And sometimes I wonder, okay, someone put a picture, and my question is, okay, what was the point of that picture? Can you remind me, why? What am I supposed to do with that? People just put out pictures. Okay, what's the point of the picture? I understand when people put pictures to tell their friends, and I understand people don't always agree with that. I get that. But some people might say, hey, this is our family, like a Christmas card. This is where we're at. Okay, I get that. But to send pictures of yourself at work, at your work desk every single day, it's just, what are we doing? Some of these things, if you did them 10 years ago, we would look at you going, what's your problem? Now, it's just fine. Me. There's a book called, the Generation Z people are actually called I-Geners, the I generation. I, me. We were not created to be focused on ourselves. We need to be thinking outwardly and seeing how can we bless other people. And so, it's very important that we evaluate how are we using our smartphones. I remember a lady told her husband one time, she's just like, I wish you could throw that phone in the ocean. I just wish you could do that. And I understand those challenges, right? My work email is tied to my phone, which sometimes requires that, okay, an email came, I have to respond to that. But I remember before emails could even come to phones, someone said, or during that time, someone made a comment, this is another tip, and then we'll stop and discuss. He said that he doesn't check his emails except at certain times of the day. So he set the times he checks his emails. So if you text him in between those times or email him, you're just going to have to wait till the next time he checks his email. That's just fine. People used to wait for months to get letters, and they were fine. But somehow we have become so hyper quick, that it's just not turning out okay. And if young people are growing up with that now, this is an experiment that we don't know what's going to happen down the road from now. This is an experiment. Don't be one of the ones who becomes the bad statistic. Our research shows those who did this from 2018 to 2022, this is what happened to them. Don't be a part of that group, right? When we find out that this is not healthy. Our brains and our thinking and all of that are not used as they're supposed to be used. We were given a brain and we were given these tools to think clearly. It's almost like a muscle that you have to lift weights with. But if I'm always Googling everything and I'm not thinking about things, well, then I become intellectually lazy. And my friends, that's happened to us already. Now the question is, what are we going to do? Because they're not going to stop making smartphones. Smartphones in and of themselves are not the problem. How we are using them becomes the problem. So what are we going to do? Because the technology is only getting faster. We need to manage how we use technology, and we need to make sure that it doesn't spill into affecting our time, that we don't have time to do the things that we should do. So do you see how technology and time come together? If you use technology terribly sometimes, it actually will remove the time that you can do other things. You can encourage other people. We would think that with all the tools we have, more people will be encouraged to be living lives of excellence. More people will be encouraged to be living lives that make sense, because I can communicate with you quickly to tell you, hey, this happened, sorry I offended you, whatever. Great, we're good to go. I don't have to wait months to do that. I don't have to wait months for it to get to me in a letter. And yet, relationships are not necessarily better because of technology. Sometimes they're actually affected and go in the opposite direction. So, here's my call and encouragement to young people today. Let's manage our technology well. I'm not saying that every single technological tool is bad, but I'm saying if many people are writing books, and if there's videos coming out almost every other month about the effects of technology, maybe we should pay attention and see how we can handle it properly so we can live lives of excellence. Okay? Thank you for your time.